Okay, so here we go with another DC Superpowers unboxing from Mcfarlane Toys. And this is the Man of Steel himself, Superman. You might remember that when I did the very first of the Mcfarlane Superpowers, that also was a Superman figure. And that one I had some criticisms of. While overall I thought it was a pretty good figure, I thought the cape was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. And you remember, not only was the cape made out of like a bad material, and not only was it not sewn correctly, but there was also a plastic tab holding it into the package, and that caused there to be like this hole in the middle of the cape, ruined the cape entirely as far as I was concerned. So, while overall I thought that was a pretty decent Superman figure, the cape was bad. And also, in terms of being a superpowers Superman, it did not look that much like the original superpowers Superman. Yes, indeed, Zazzle, up, up, and away, we got Superman. Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap a tall building in a single bound. A strange visitor from an alien planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered newspaper reporter, fights a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and the American way. Probably says that on the back. Yep, I don't have to read the bio. I already read the bio. Like, I knew that shit by heart. In fact, I threw in more information to it because I tossed in the part about him being Clark Kent. How do you leave out him being Clark Kent? Is it a bird? No. And nor is it a plane. It's Superman. What were those first two people so excited about anyway? It's a bird! You know, fuck, duh, man. Like, you see birds all the time. Here is the cross-cell artwork on the back. I'm not going to name off all these characters, but it is a rapidly expanding list of characters. Whole bunch of them. And then we've got the Skull Ship and the Blue Beetle's bug on the back. Guess they didn't have any new vehicles to put on here yet. So I think there's some coming out for that new James Gunn Superman movie. Apparently there's a Fortress of Solitude playset. Hopefully that'll be good. And Mr. Terrific has a vehicle. But I don't know if I'm going to buy any of those figures. I don't really like any of those costumes in that movie. So I don't know if I'm interested in having toys of them. So we'll just go ahead and open him up. So, like I mentioned, the previous Superman figure I did not feel like was a very good representation of a superpowered Superman. While it was a good Superman figure on its own, favorite so far of the previous superpowers figures? Oh, geez, I don't know. That's a tough choice. Let's have a look. See, I will say this, and this doesn't necessarily mean that he's my favorite. But of all the figures on here that they've done, and some of them have been redos of, figures we got in the original Superpowers, and some of them have been new characters. The one I was most excited about as far as characters that I always wanted when I was a kid, and they never made, was Sinestro. I always really wanted a Sinestro figure. He's always been one of my favorite villains, so I'm glad that Mcfarlane finally got around to doing what Kenner never managed to do as far as making a Sinestro figure, and in the same ballpark, Black Manta. And it's funny that Mcfarlane's made two figures of each of those characters. We've gotten two of Sinestro and two of Black Manta. So that's kind of funny. So I already took the cape off of him, and it looks like, unfortunately, the cape clip is just gigantic. Like, look how easily that comes off of him. This is like that Batman cape clip that I just think is like way too big. The cape itself is made out of a pretty decent material. It's a kind of spandexy kind of material. Thankfully, it does not look like we had too much of that bleed that was a problem with the Fleischer Superman. There doesn't seem to be any red on his shoulders to speak of. But I am really disappointed in this cape clip. This is a step backwards as far as cape clips go from Mcfarlane. I'm definitely going to have to do something about that. And it's still sewn in that weird sort of way where you get those sort of lapels, I think Captain Have Fun called them. So I'm going to take the cape off of him for now because I'm pretty sure it's just going to fall off anyway while I'm dealing with this. It's on there so loosely. Now, this is a lot closer to the original Superpowers Superman than that previous Mcfarlane effort, but it's not quite the same either. So if you want an exact reproduction of the original Superpowers Superman, this is another swing and a miss, I'm sorry to say. But is it a good Superman figure in its own right? Like, just at a glance, I think so. I think it does improve on the previous Superman model in some ways. For example, you can see he's got like a much wider stance, so he doesn't quite look as much like he's having to do the pee-pee dance as that first Superpowers Superman did. He's not quite as big as that one, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I guess that depends on, you know, your perspective on that. Vintage is absolutely the best. I would say that, like, out of all the Superpowers Supermans, it's like the original one is really tough to beat. Now, he does have those bright blue eyes that the original vintage Superman has, and he's got eyelashes, which the original vintage Superman did not have. Now, when I first saw pictures of this figure, I was disappointed in the head sculpt because I thought he did not look enough like the vintage Superman figure again. But looking at him in person, I do think he looks a lot more like that vintage Superman figure than I was giving him credit for. He does have a very different facial expression, but it looks like the same guy, just with a different facial expression. So that's nice. And it's kind of got that thing going on like the vintage version of the original He-Man, where I can't quite tell if that's a smile or a grimace. It kind of depends on what angle you look at it from. And honestly, that's, to me, a good thing to have. Hello, Retro Tinker. Welcome to the show. That's a good thing to have on an action figure, because then you can imagine him having different emotions, and I like that. So another difference between this one and the original Superpowers Superman is he does. This is really odd, because all the other Superman figures in the Mcfarlane Superman line, they have that more superpowers looking emblem. Like, it looks more like the emblem that was on the vintage figure. However, this one looks like they took the logo perfect emblem that you usually see on merchandise, and they kind of stretched it out a little bit to make it more like the proportions on those, but it's still not exactly that the vintage Superman emblem that was on the Superpowers figure, but it does look good. His legs were a little sticky, so I kind of loosened him up a little bit there. Well, let's talk about his articulation now. So Superman, this is a vintage style figure with a simple vintage style articulation. And basically that means the head rotates all the way around. The arms rotate all the way around at the shoulders. Legs can kick up about that far and can kick back about that far. And then he's got a single joint at the knee. It bends about 90 degrees. And that's pretty simple. Yeah, not the big purple grimace, the facial expression grimace, which I'm pretty sure is what the McDonaldland character was originally named after, that facial expression, since he was originally supposed to be a bad guy. So they wanted him to have a name that sounded, you know, kind of villainous, I guess. But, you know, of course, Grimace eventually became a good guy. So the name stuck, I guess. So yeah, I like the colors on it. It's a nice bright blue, nice bright red, nice bright yellow, nice bright primary colors all around. I think this is actually a brighter blue than the vintage Superman figure had in the first place, so that's kind of funny. But, you know, it still works pretty well, I think. But again, I think for people who are expecting this figure to be like a one-to-one translation of the original Kenner Superman, he's not that exactly. If you want just like a good classic style Superman action figure with some superpowers influence, then you're going to be pretty happy with this. But if you want an exact reproduction, brought to you by Big K Soft Drinks, well, yeah, because I'm cheap, so I get those at Kroger. I don't get paid for that, though. This video is not brought to you by Big K. But yeah, so he's a good figure. I'm glad I bought him, but it's still not that exact reproduction of the original figure for anybody who wants that. So some people are going to be kind of disappointed in that, I guess. Oh well. For me, the big disappointment is this cape clasp, which is like I said, it's like the cape clasp that we had on the 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 first Batman figure, the Hush Batman figure, and it does not stay very well on there. It comes off like really ridiculously easy, and I'm gonna have to replace that with probably a little bit of paper clip. That's how I usually make my cape clasps, and hopefully I can make something that works a little bit better. Let's see if we can tuck the lapels underneath there. And that looks a little bit more like the vintage style, but still, it's not going to stay on very well. They did not do a very good job with the cape clip. And that's disappointing because they keep using that same cape clip on Batman. Like the Detective Batman has a much better cape clip. And I kind of hoped that with this one they would go with the improved version, but no, this is a bad cape clip. So phooey on them for that. So since I did Superman already, let's see what's next in my pile. And it looks like it's going to be Bizarro. So next episode, I will be back to open up Bizarro. Probably going to be tomorrow. So I'm planning on it being tomorrow. So hopefully I'll get a chance to do that. So he's going to have that same cape clip too, isn't he? Damn it. So yeah, I'll just fix it myself. Won't be that big a deal. I mean, hell, here, right here, I got I got a vintage Batman the Animated Series. You know, so we can see how like I go tug on this thing, and it, like there, I finally got it to come off. But you saw how like I tugged on it for a while, and it goes on, like, you know, I can hold them by this thing. Like this is a good cape clip, whereas this one is just like nope, that's not gonna work. Mcfarlane, you need to do something about your cape clips. I suggest you take an actual vintage Superpowers or Batman Returns or Batman the Animated Series cape, take it apart, and look at the cape clip and copy that exactly. That's what you need to do. If anybody from Mcfarlane is listening, that's what you need to do. Just FYI. So I say this out of love. You know I love these figures, but the capes have just been a problem the whole time. And you were doing so much better with the Batman cape clip. Breakaway cape would be safer in real life, but you know it's not so good for an action figure, and the kids like playing around with it. And see, look, like just kind of shook him around a little bit. It just fell off. It doesn't want to stay on him. See, like it should not do that. The older capes don't do that. I could sit here for an hour shaking this guy back and forth. That cape's gonna stay on there. But we try it on him, gone. So that's why they need to fix that. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this episode. That's all I got to say about this figure. He's a pretty cool figure, but the cape sucks. There. You can always go on to eBay, and there's a fella called the Cape Master. He makes replacement capes for Superpowers figures, and he could probably make you something much more high quality than this. I've had a few of his capes, and they work pretty well. Or you can just learn how to make them yourself, because it's not that hard. Like, you can go to Toy Polloi, his website, and he's got patterns to make capes, and you can just make the cape clip out of like a little piece of paper clip, and it'll work just fine. But that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe. All the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about Superman, both the character in general and this figure specifically. And what do you think about the what are the best Superpowers Superman figures as far as you're concerned? I think this is probably the best one that McFarlane has made so far. But again, yeah, the Kenner one is definitely superior. So if you can get the Kenner one in good shape, and it's hard to find one in good shape. Trust me, I look all the time. I want to get myself, like, I still got my childhood one. You've seen it on this channel before, I think, but he's in rough shape, and his cape is all like frayed and curled up, and I'd like to have one that's like in just perfect condition. That's just me. I like big, muscly supermen's. Well, you know, a lot of people do. That's you know, something that you know, I don't judge. You know, whatever. You know, just when consenting adults, that's fine. You know, so that's cool. Personally, I prefer for Superman to have some muscles myself. Like, I don't really like that new Superman costume in the movie because it looks like he's wearing like some baggy motorcycle outfit, and that's not working for me. So, hopefully next time they do a Superman movie, they'll do a better job than that. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. All right, we'll talk to you fellas next time. Have a good one. Bye.